All right, and here we are, and I'm gonna do the poll to find out what grades we have today.
A lot of fifth graders tonight.
A lot of fifth graders, and as always, thank you, staff, for being here. I'm gonna give it a few more seconds and see if anybody. Are you ready to start, Melissa?
Yeah, we can start whenever.
All right. I'll keep an eye on the waiting room, and the poll. Here's what we've got going. Fifth graders in the lead.
Fifth grade wins a prize tonight. Not sure what it'll be, but big round of applause. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining tonight. It's good to see so many faces and have you here with us as we start out January with PTO. So happy New Year, everybody. So we just want to talk a little bit about things that we finished with fundraising, and then a little bit of with some things coming up. There's not a lot until we hear from Mr. Town about how things are going already and things that he wants to contribute or tell us about. So I'm going to start with the budget update. So Erin can do that real quick. We just have a couple things we want to update.
Okay, so you should have in the email, it was sent out, the budget was sheet was sent out in the email if you want to look at that now or later or whatever. So we currently have 26,000 in the bank account. I'm just going to kind of rattle off some numbers just to, give everybody an idea of what we've, what we have. So 26,000 in the bank account right now. We haven't had a lot of school requests or teachers requests or anything, but that might pick up here now that the kids are back in school. We made 14,582 in the direct drive. So that was good. We got over our goal. And let's see, we made 512 in the spiritware. And I think we had that restaurant night that was 700 and almost 1,400 with just face masks. So that was good. But that's about it. No, not much else at this point.
Right. And our one big expenditure thus far has been the stylus that we sent out, that went out. So awesome. Thank you, Erin, for the update. If anybody has any questions, just let us know and we'll go back to the budget. But we're gonna, one thing we are looking forward to with spring, I talked to Mr. Town, and since the kids are in school, we are gonna move forward with the Gertons, but I know that's closer to Mother's Day, but just as an update, just as a thinking forward, we are gonna move forward with that year. So if you want to do Gertons, that'll be coming up. And then one little bit about spending money and fundraising. So in the fall, we generally have done the teacher meals during conferences. And since there were teachers, some on Zooms from home or some at school, we decided not to do it. And PTO just put a little snack pack and delivered those to school for the teachers. But we talked to Mr. Town and we have approval to do a teacher meal. And so we've contacted Libby with Fanfare Kitchen, and she is, they are a Pinewood family. Currently they have their kids at home, but they are coming back in the fall. So we're working with her to offer teachers 3 different options to choose from, and we'll have teachers choose, and then that'll be delivered on the day, what day did we decide? February 11th, that'll be just delivered to school. So all teachers will get a meal and a cookie. And I love how we're working with a local and Pinewood family. It makes me happy to support Pinewood families and support our local community. So I am going to have, since in the past what we've had parents do is sign up for Sign Up Genius, and we can bring a crock pot of soup or a salad or whatever, since that's not really the option we're able to do this year. I'm going to just put it out there on the website, but we'll send links out and stuff for people to donate a meal to a teacher. And so the meals are going to be approximately $9. So we'll say for $9, you can feed your teacher or its staff as well. So it'll be, Libby's counting on about 80 meals right now. So we're gonna have a little donate button if people are able to donate. If they can't, totally awesome. PTO does have the money to do it, but we're just hoping to give families the option to donate with that. So if anybody has any questions about that, let us know, or any thoughts about a better way to do it, or for another meal next time around, another place you would like to recommend for catering, we'd love to hear about it. So speaking of like connecting with the teachers and staff, we are obviously trying to find ways to connect with our whole community, and we're really looking forward in some ways for our kids to go back. I know I'm slightly nervous. I'm like excited for Khalil to go back, but nervous for him to go back at the same time. I think it's just been an interesting couple months. But so we did the gingerbread kind of show and tell, and we got a lot of amazing gingerbread photos. So what we're doing now is snow sculptures and ice sculptures. So if you have any photos of what your kids have built outside, we would love to see them. And it'll be the same like a social media campaign where they just go out. So if you could email them to myself at pinewoodptoegan@gmail.com, that would be awesome. And I'll put that in the chat too. So, and we're again sending that out to social media. So, and something I'm really excited for I Love to Read Week. I know in the past we've done classroom contests where they've set up their own goal. So Ms. G or any one of the teachers, if you have a better way to explain this, I'd love to hear it. But from what I understand in the past, each classroom has created a goal for themselves about how many reading minutes they're going to get. And then they work as a class to complete that goal. And then they earn a class prize, and it's 100% dependent on the class. It's not, it's per class. Is anybody thumbs up if that's how it's run in the past, or if there's something different to add? I'd love to hear it. But what we're adding this year is called a masked reader. So I'm sure you've seen or heard of masked singer and masked dancer. So it's kind of a play on that. And we have some teachers who have volunteered, and we take more if they'd like, but we're going to digitally mask them. And then the videos they'll record themselves reading a book, and then those will be played in the classroom during I Love to Read Week. And then for digital kids, it'll be awesome. They'll get the same exact experience that the classroom kids are getting, because the videos will just be on Seesaw or whatever way the teachers want to give them to be part of it as well. So we're working on a way for kids to vote, or at least guess who the masked reader is every day. So we have 5 teachers. We can have more, so that would be awesome. But we have teachers who are excited to do that. So we'll have kids voting. So I'm super excited to see how it really works out. And I'll be working with Mr. Town a little bit more to get the details and finalize it. And that's at the end of February. So we have a little bit of time, but I'm really excited about it.
I just have to tell you that you explained it perfectly.
Oh, for the reading?
Yeah, for the reading goals. It was perfect, okay. Wasn't it? And then the other thing is, do we sign up for this mask reading?
Yes, you should have received an email from Mary or Mr. Town or Sarah Samaraka.
Oh my gosh, I've got to check into it.
But I can put you on the list, Ms. G. And just
put me on the list, please.
All right, I will put you on the list. So I'm super excited. I hope it works out. And I just love how it'll be the same, even though we have distance learners, they're getting the same fun experience that the in-classroom kids are getting. And I don't know if, if it's difficult for those teachers to do like a goal for their kids and have that competition, at least this will be the same experience. So I'm excited for something a little bit different for the kids to try out. So I'm hoping it goes well. So, it's Ms. G, you're on the list. All right. So some things that we thought we should talk about with school happenings. Jonna, do you want to talk about both the book fair and the meal kits, since you understand it a little bit better than I do?
Sure. I just wanted to let everybody know that there will be another digital book fair. we usually do book fairs in February coinciding with conferences. So we're going to do sort of the same schedule. The online book fairs run for 2 weeks. And this one is, sorry, I need my calendar up. This one technically will be running from February 3rd to the 16th. We probably won't really start marketing it harder until that last week. So I just wanted to let you know that that's going to be happening. And then the meal kit stuff, just also wanted to let you know that you still can get meal kits from school, whether you're in the base model or distance learning. The base model kids can get it sent home with them from school. And I believe it's weekends, like enough for weekend meals plus Wednesday breakfast. And then if you're in distance learning, you can still pick them up, but they aren't being picked up they're not being picked up at Pinewood anymore. They're doing them just at the middle and high schools. So you can pick them up kind of at that combined door with Dakota and Egan in that top parking lot area. And there is some time every day, I think, that they are out there. There's like an hour a day that the meals are out there to pick up. So I can put a link. I'll put a link in the chat with the food service, the District 196 Food and Nutrition Services, and you can see the information there. Is that the information you wanted, Melissa?
Yeah, because I just want to make sure families know they're still available. And then meals will still be free too when kids go back to school. For their school lunch is still free with the USDA grant. So it's pretty exciting that that's still an option for kids. I think Mr. Town will talk a little bit more about this, but he mentioned that picture retakes are on hopefully I think they were being solidified for during the during assessment days. So conference days are now assessment days. I think most people know that, I hope, or you'll learn that soon. So it'll be the same ways that you've signed up in the past for assessments. Usually they're in August, and I think we did do them in August, but now that we're back to hopefully staying in the same learning pattern, hopefully it goes well. I'm nervously excited, but that they want to reassess students just to feel where they are and get really back to working with one-on-one with students at where they're at. So if anybody has any questions, it's a really short information we had. I know it's been a little bit since we've met, but not being in school, we don't have a lot of events that we're planning forward. I don't have any idea what Carnival will look like this year, if that'll even be an option. So that'll be a conversation in the upcoming months. Maybe if there's something we could do outside, I don't know. We'll wait and see on that. But again, we'd love to see your snow sculptures. So that would be awesome. I think unless Aaron or John, if you have anything else to add, I think we'll turn it over to Mr. Town for an update on things going on. If you have questions for Mr. Town while he's talking, just put them in the chat and Jonna and I will keep track of that to kind of ask him the questions after he gives us a little update on school and things going on. So fire away, Mr. Town.
Well, it's been a blast to have them back.
Yeah.
And they have been so excited to be back too. So we've all been a little bit nervous, and I think for the teachers, they're wearing face shields now along with masks. And that's pretty much all day. There's some pretty exhausted teachers at the end of the day, but there's a lot of happy faces too. So I think we're all adapting to a new normal again. And, if you think about it, we're restarting school for the third time this year. So we've had to recreate schedules again. We're eating in the classrooms again, like we did in hybrid, but now we have to feed twice as many kids in a day. So we're having to refigure out how to do that system as well. And I'm sure it will go fine. We still have to have areas on the playgrounds that the kids can play in. The playground is not open to the way it used to be. So there's a little bit of adjustment that's going on there as well. And all those safety and cleaning protocols are still in place. The students are still sitting They reduced actually the distance between the students, went from 6 feet to 3 feet. So you can look in classrooms that either have kids working in kind of small pods that are 3 feet apart, or some of the classrooms are having them in rows where they're 3 feet apart now too. So, and I think, the teachers are still keeping that 6-foot distancing, and, figuring out a little bit as we go along. But I think in general, it's been off to a really good start here the last, since Thursday. Seems like years ago already, but kind of back into the same routines a little bit from the beginning of the school year. It's weird because I was actually more nervous about restarting school this time than I was in the fall or when we went to distance learning. And I don't know if it's just because I know they're all coming back, that you're just, you're a little bit nervous about all the systems that they're gonna work okay, going back. But I think we're in great shape right now. I think we're just figuring it out a little bit as we go along, and the kids are wearing masks. I've been really impressed with the kids about mask wearing. Oh my gosh, you don't have to remind them. Even the kindergartners are great about it. The teachers actually have now on masks, and then they have a plexiglass shield, or a face mask that they wear, kind of a hood or whatever you want to call it. But then they also are wired for sound now, because you can't talk through the mask and that piece of plexiglass. They all have a personal amplification system now too, with a mic. And then the speaker is on a belt that they wear, so that all the kids can hear them in the classroom now too. So they're all kind of wired for sound, as it were. And I think that's been working pretty well for the time that we have. So that's kind of where we're at. So Wednesday is coming. That's our first shortened day. We start at 10. We're going to have lunches about 10:40 to 10:45. So it'll be an early lunch for them. And then once that, and then we'll drop right into, they'll have a 25-minute recess someplace during the day. And then they'll go home at 2 o'clock too. Yes, Pinewood did make changes to the HVAC system. They've really opened up the fresh air intake. So we are getting a lot more fresh air into the building than we have before. It doesn't seem to have affected the temperature yet, but I think that is going to happen. And no, Mrs. G does not need an amplifier. She has a personal one. Some of us are born into greatness.
I got to defend myself. I'll tell you what, Haley Morse, who's very quiet, and Jenny Pittman, now they sound like carnies when they have their little amplifiers on, and I'm listening to that, and I have a quiet voice. But I do have to say the kids are doing a great job too. They all came back so excited, and you can't even imagine to have your room full again and how exciting it is, you guys. It is, oh, right, Sue and Michelle, it's just so wonderful. So I can hardly wait to have the rest of the kids back too. And we're all being very safe.
Yeah, the kids are amazing. Lunchtime is the same for everyone, but recess is staggered according to the grade level. And we finalize that schedule hopefully today, and then we'll get it out to parents. And the lunches, if kids are getting lunches on Wednesdays, those lunches are actually going to be delivered to the classrooms now, to kind of cut down on the transition time from classroom down to the lunchroom and everything else. So that'll make things a little bit more efficient too. But they have been doing an awesome job. In fact, it was funny because principals group was talking today about stuff that principals talk about, budget and that stuff like that. And the comment was made, I was designed more for hugging kindergartners than I was worrying about budgets, because we're elementary teachers at heart, right? So anyway, that's all I really have to report, other than, we're just continuing to keep those systems in place and get ready to welcome the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders back. So
We have one more question. What are the concerns regarding depth of learning this year? Are there conversations on students not meeting state standards due to disruption?
yeah, I think everybody's a little bit worried about that. We're kind of waiting to hear from the state in terms of what their expectations are going to be. We haven't heard whether they're going to even have MCA tests or not yet, because I'm thinking that they're kind of wondering how they're going to handle students that are in distance academy, and what that potentially could look like. We know, these assessment days that we've got coming up that have shifted from parent teacher conferences to assessment days. That's going to be our first real indicator of what reading looks like for
And that was
for students.
actually the next question that came up. Can we get more information on the assessment days, and will they be in
Yes,
person?
assessments will be in person for students that, and they're basically run like August will, where we typically do them. Parents will sign up, the assessment letters will come out, you'll sign up, you'll bring your child to Pinewood. They will assess, classroom teachers will assess them, and then we'll get some baseline knowledge before moving into kind of regrouping in February again. So it's run basically the same way that we did in August. So how do the number?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. How do the numbers of kids coming back from the digital academy look like? Are any classes getting reshuffled, or have any classes been reshuffled?
There haven't been. We really didn't see a big change in distance academy kids and our in-person kids. There were no large shifts. We had a few, and if we did, many of them were the same going out as the same going in. So there wasn't this big dramatic shift at all. So I felt pretty fortunate about that we didn't have to make any of those. And we still have some parents that are kind of figuring that out a little bit. They either have changed because of a childcare thing, or for one student I know, the parent had to go back to work, and they'd been supporting their child at home. So they had called and said, can we get that child back into the in-person learning? So, but very minimal shifts than what we, could have had for sure. Do you have other questions?
Any other questions from Mr. Town?
Important to know also that even on those assessment days, we won't be allowing adults in the building. So we'll be running it the same as August, where it's a drop-off situation and then a pickup, which will be a little bit different because it'll be a little bit colder out. But the nice thing is the kids will know their teachers too, so that'll make it a little bit easier as well.
Are you planning to will it still be like the scheduling through PTC Fast kind of thing?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
We'll get that out to you. I think Mary, we're planning on sending it tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, then Wednesday.
We did have one more question that I had received in an email, and that was just what are the thoughts and considerations for long-term absences or kids that do have to be quarantined at home? Since there's still going to be seesaw going, for distance learners, will that happen? What will a child be doing at home for 2 weeks if they have to be quarantined, or if they family sick or something?
Yeah, so there's kind of 3 pieces to this puzzle a little bit. So there's the child that is in quarantine. There's a child that could be in isolation because they have tested positive for COVID, and then you could have a child that's actually sick due to some other illness. I think the divider here is whether the child is ill or they're in quarantine. Quarantine meaning they're probably not ill or haven't found out yet. Those children would be expected to still participate in the class, and the expectation is the teacher is also instructing the child even when they're at home. Now, does that look like a regular school day? No, we don't want that for the child, because it would be difficult for the teacher also. So it's picking those moments during the school day when it would make sense to have, you know, that child participate in class. And that might be the morning meeting, and then it may be the group instruction for like a math lesson or something like that. So it's not the full day. If they're ill, they're ill. I mean, and there will be stuff that they can, you know, it's kind of like a makeup day then. If there's assignments out there that they can work on, they can work on them. So I think it's just, you know, it's that quarantine piece that makes the difference. And that's true. I mean, it can get really funky. You know, if we have a teacher out on quarantine and then half the class is out on quarantine, there is still this expectation that they're all getting together as a class and still learning. So it can get really, really difficult to do at times. And one class that I'm well aware of that I taught in, we actually had a student that it was out on quarantine, and the teacher was out on quarantine as well. So we were trying to make it work.
And I did it with my class when I had COVID. And then they were in quarantine, I think, weren't they? No, well, it was a bad affair. Let's just say that much. But 2 of them were in class, right? And they did get a substitute. So would you at some point get a substitute then and have them?
Yeah, I think it all kind of, the basic thing is that the teacher could be out 2 days. And then after the 2 days, then they're still posting assignments. But then after 2 days, then we have to look at a sub for actual instruction then too. So I think it's a really hard thing to do. I think we're in a tough spot. But
so it's possible that you would have students at, like, say, you know, for example, a parent got COVID, so then you have to keep your kids home, right? Because they've had exposure. So those kids would they be like zooming into the classroom then? Because they're fine, you know, like let's assume they're fine, but just like you were saying, they need the schoolwork, they zoom into the classroom at different points that you're saying, like maybe math lesson, morning meeting.
Right. Pauline, I'll just share. So what happened, so what happened is that we had 2 students that were already out on quarantine. And then Mrs. G and a few other students had to go out on quarantines. But the 2 that had already been out had the ability to come back to school. So they needed to come back to school. So while the rest of the folks were out, we had to continue to teach the 2 that were in person, if that makes sense. That's how unusual it can get.
Just the way that the timing and like quarantine periods and stuff work out. It's all, yeah,
you can't make some of this up.
There was also a question about if there will be makeup conferences.
Not that I'm aware of right now. I think that we'll probably take those a little bit at a time. If you are interested in meeting with the teacher, we just feel, and maybe there will be, but I think there's been a lot of more probably communication between teachers and parents than there ever has been, simply because they're sitting in on every Zoom meeting. Many of them are, and then, you know, being able to talk with that teacher through a Zoom link or whatever too.
I'm sure if parents had a concern, they could find a way to meet with the teacher, you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or vice versa. If a teacher had a concern, they could meet with a family someone.
Yep. That's been the beauty of Zoom a little bit too, is that you can actually, instead of just having a phone call, you could have a meeting if you wanted as well. But if it comes down, and most of our special education meetings are now done through Zoom because of everything that's going on too.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Town. If you have anything else you want to tell us about or let us know. I mean, we're excited. I don't know how people are feeling. Like, I'm excited for Khalil to go back, but I'm nervous. And I think he doesn't know how much he'll miss his brothers. I mean, that has been a huge benefit of all 3 of them being home, is they've really become really close. So I think he doesn't know that Wednesdays are coming movie days in the afternoon at our house either. So they want to watch Marvel movies. The older boys do. And I'm like, you get your work done. You can watch a Marvel movie while he's gone, but don't tell your brother. So anyway, sorry, I was just reading. Jessica said, please keep in mind that parents take kids to daycare each day, so sometimes they don't know what's going on. And Jessica, I'll actually second that. Khalil was up to his room for Zoom, and so I'm not there. I'm letting him do his thing, and I'm checking in if I need to, but I can see that he's getting his work done. So yes, I understand what you're saying is that sometimes like I'm not involved in his Zoom meeting. So, but I do encourage you to reach out, like parents. I mean, I know teachers, Miss T, I can speak for, I know I've had Miss G as a teacher, and they're always been super responsive to questions, or I'm sure Miss G would do a meeting at any time with a parent. Well, anytime that's appropriate during the, that would work with your schedule. But so Jessica, we totally understand what you're saying too, that you're not there all the time, because I let Khalil do his thing and I'm around, but he's in his own classroom. I feel like that's good for him too. So anyway, just to recap, there's not a lot going on, which is sort of a bummer. I feel like we'd be ramping up for Carnival right now, but I just don't think that's going to be an option for us this year in the same way we've done it before. So I'm going to talk a little bit to Sarah Logan and Mr. Town in the moving forward and see if there's any thoughts of a much smaller thing and maybe we just wait a couple weeks or months and just see how in school goes. It would be fun to have some sort of community thing, but I don't know at this point if that's the best way to move on. But so I'm hoping the masked reader, we're going to also put that out after it's released to the kids. We're going to put it out on Facebook and on the PTO website, so parents will have an option to be involved with that, and kids can show their parents the movie too. So I think there'll be I feel like especially younger kids, but I think the older kids too will, since it'll be novel to them, will enjoy it. But if you have any thoughts on the best way to have kids vote or send their suggestion in, we'd love to have that. They all have the iPads. What's the best way to do that? We'd love to hear your suggestions, teacher suggestions about the way to do that too. So, so the last thing, our next meeting is February 22nd. So unless anybody has any other questions, you can hang out. We can just have a casual conversation. And then Chris Town says, can you unmute me? Yes. No. Yes. Did it work? Or Jonna?
Hey, Jessica, I just wanted to say too, we're definitely looking at all the perspectives of all the kids. I mean, I think that when the older kids come back, that's something that we're going to have to work on as well. One of the issues that we're going to have to deal with the 4th and 5th graders, we talked about it today actually, is they don't like to bring their snow pants and boots to school. And I remember the day, and maybe you guys remember the day when it was just not cool because you didn't want to have that school because you were too old for it or whatever, didn't have it. But I think one of the things that we have to have them understand is that when they're going out on recess now, they're not going to be on the blacktop. They're going to have to be out on a snowy field, and they can't be out there with their shoes on. So we definitely are thinking about all the different ways that things are playing out a little bit right now too. So, but if, and again, I would encourage, we don't know everything. And if somebody knows something different and wants to ask, we're way open to it, because obviously this is new territory for everybody right now too.
Are kids still bringing everything back and forth to school?
They shouldn't be.
Keeping okay.
Yeah, they should. Pretty much the basics are their iPad and a notebook, and then the rest they can put in their desk, markers and crayons and all that. So they have new desks that they can put stuff in. They're still, I believe for the most part, teachers, and you teachers can correct me if I'm wrong, kids are still hanging their stuff in their lockers. We're just being careful that they're all not running to the lockers to get their stuff. They can leave snow pants and boots at school. So I think it's yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, most of it anyways. It depends on the grade level a little bit too.
Jonna, you can unmute everybody.
Sorry.
And if people want, go ahead. And if anybody wants to ask questions or just have a casual conversation or whatever, that's it for like the formal PTO meeting. So if you want to log off or stay in for casual conversation, that's awesome. Thank you again for joining us, parents and teachers, staff. It's really, I love everybody's contributions. There are a couple thoughts coming in. Maybe do shifts based on grade level, trouble with siblings, maybe can figure something out. So I don't know.
All right, I'm stopping recording. Thanks, everybody.